have any apologies that I'm aware of, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Warrington.
Councillor Bert Wilson is the only one I'm aware of at the minute. He's no power. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Councillor Garrity.
Thank you, Chair. No, all to be on tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mary. And Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chairman. No apologies received. Thank you.
Thank you, Earl. And have we any other apologies?
Chair, I believe Councillor Keenan's working tonight, so he's not available, so he sends his apologies. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Emmett. And with no other apologies, we move on then. So to sign the minutes of the previous meeting, October, which has been done. Have we any declarations of interest? No declarations of interest, so we move on then. So matters arising.
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah,
declarations of interest, just.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor McAleer.
5.4 as a member of the Disability Advisory Group, just Chair.
5.4, okay. Councillor Curry.
Yes, to Bronor McIrley. Sorry, Chair, I couldn't get my hand quick enough.
Nope. No
7.2 there, the Royal Mail. It's just for information, but I am interested.
Okay.
Just works it.
Perfect. Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
5.4 Disability Advisory Group, Chair.
Thanks, Stephen. Councillor McPhillips.
Thanks, Chair. 5.4 also a Disability Advisory Group. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chairman. 5.4 Disability Advisory Group. Thank you.
Thanks. Councillor Warrington.
Same, Chair, 5.4.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Victor.
And Chair, if I may declare in item 9, please.
Okay, thank you, Alison. Okay, so matters arising just as per the precedents, we're going to move them back to just before any other business. So moving on then to the Chief Executive's reports, and 5.1 members is to consider the report on governance review and associated arrangements, and we're going to invite some feedback on this report from yourselves. So we'll let Alison to break us into this.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just briefly, this is an opportunity to set out what we see as some of the issues and matters that can be influenced and changed at this point in the term of the Council. So we've set out, Chair, the committees, the potential to delegate additional powers to the committees, some consideration around the volume of informal meetings that are being held and the impact that that has on your own schedule. Some details there, Chair, around correspondence, and again the volume the volume of letters issued, but then the time that that takes on consideration when it's back into the Council, and some suggestions maybe that could be dealt with on a more priority basis. Then roads and council estate matters, Chair, have now routinely been raised at committee and council meetings, and there certainly are already procedures in place for those to be dealt with outside of a formal arrangement. I do think there's significant scope for streamlining of our working groups. We have in excess of 90 groups to which we nominate, but certainly over 40 of those would be ones that are unlikely to have any formal requirements such as funding or nomination to, that I think we would have scope to streamline. And I am mindful as well, Chair, that there are a number of gaps in our provision. I know that members have set out, for example, the desire for a rural issues, rural disadvantage group, and how best to deal with that in the context of the review, and also some misalignment maybe with our community plan and the scope for some thematic working groups to be established specifically to support the delivery of some of the aspects of the plan. And then finally, Chair, just highlighting NILGA are going to provide some facilitation, and it would be helpful really to get a sense from members as to those matters you would like to be progressed and prioritised, so that we could hopefully get some changes in place for December and January and for the rest of this year. Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, Councillor Thompson then. So thanks, Alison, for that introduction. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you, Alison, for the report. I suppose I certainly agree with the recommendations as you've listed there, Alison, and note the update and the various. I'm happy enough to propose the recommendation as listed. Just a wee bit of feedback, I suppose. something that's been sprung to mind over the last year or so anyway, is the continuous writing of letters back to whoever sent them, whoever the minister is. I mean, I think it's a lot of it's self-explanatory. If you're getting an answer back, I think that's mostly what they've got to say on the matter, and I don't think there's any point in repeating the process and repeating it again. That's one issue. The informal meetings, I had suggested that the formal meetings, if we're going to have so many of them, that they be held on one day, and that was preferably a Friday, and be cleared up by lunchtime. That seemed to work for a while, but the last period of time have been on Friday informal meetings up till 5:30, 6 o'clock. I mean, that's not where we want to be. You want to get these things cleared up, and if it's informal meetings as necessary. Committees, certainly agree with what you're saying about committees, and I know it's been raised about the committees before, just with regard to making them more streamlined, and some of the committees making them subcommittees, and I maybe agree with the Health and Social Care Services Group being made a subcommittee. It's to make it a more formal process, I suppose, but to cut down on a lot of other things that are happening in the background there as well, Chair. I'll just leave the comments there for now. I'll hear what others will say. Thank you.
Thanks, Earl, and you've proposed that document there. Councillor Erskine.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in there, and just to come in and second as well what Councillor Thompson has proposed there. Chair, if I can, could I ask the Chief Executive, apologies about this, Alison, but I'd maybe came too late in the day to try and ask you this, but I note there from the report that it says that most other councils do not issue anything comparable to the volume of letters as our council. Is there any specific numbers or figures have in relation to that?
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Alison.
okay, thanks, Chair. What I can say, Chair, is it's not unusual for our council to be issuing 60 letters.
Yeah.
And certainly based on my review of, and I'm still awaiting some information back, that maybe if other councils would be issuing in the region of 8 to 10 letters, I think that would be more comparable. There's obviously exceptions to that if there was a particularly pressing issue that needed to be brought by any council to the fore, they would do so. But in the main, it would be in that sort of single or low double digits, as opposed to the multiple of letters that we would be issuing. But I wouldn't have the analysis fully complete across all councils, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Can I come back in there, please?
Yes, go ahead, Deborah.
I think that is a stunning comparison of figures there, 60 to around 8 or 10 in other council areas. It just goes to show how Fermanagh and Omagh District Council has become a glorified letter writing society. And it really does make me cross that, yes, we are writing letters on particular issues, but some of those I feel could be letters that are written by individual councillors. You know, we're all elected, we represent individuals in our area, we can lobby on behalf of particular individuals ourselves as well. And I just think we really, really need to focus on the business of delivering for people in Fermanagh and Omagh. And as councillors, that's what we should be doing and focused on. And I do agree, we really need to streamline our meetings. And as I said, Chair, I'm just coming into second, but focusing on your own pet projects and things like that, we can do that separately. But in our council meetings, we should be trying to get the business done and work on behalf of the people of Fermanagh and Omagh. So that's all I have to say on that at the moment, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Erskine. Councillor McAleer.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would have to take a contrary position to the previous couple of speakers. I think, whilst I understand the original reasoning behind the committees or the review of committees, at least in my understanding, was that we had been approached in relation to one or two of them in particular, where we didn't have either public access or press. And that initially had kind of led to this. Following on from that, I know myself and a number of others had spoken on, I suppose, the effectiveness of some of the committees or other bodies that we were on or we had involvement with in relation to the actual, I don't want to say usefulness, but the actual and the progress that could be made by them. And I think a recent example of, I suppose, frustrations of not only myself as a councillor, but of members of a group would have been at the end of November, or at the end of October there, when we met with the Disability Advisory Group and we were trying to take some actions, and we couldn't do that, and we didn't have the power to do this. It really
Councillor
was
McAleer,
quite,
if you just maybe
quite
knock off your
disappointing.
camera, maybe a bit there. You know, you're coming in waves there, and we've got most of what you've said, but maybe if you turn off your camera, it might help. Thanks.
No problem. Hopefully that's a wee bit better for you.
Thanks. I just intermittent.
Thank you. One worrying thing, I suppose, is at the bottom of page 2.3. There's a note there that states about the existing committees and membership of these cannot be reviewed until next year. I wasn't of the impression that we were actually reviewing membership of committees. Obviously, that's become quite a worrying feature that myself as an independent and other independent and small party members are seemingly being excluded from committees where we would have the potential to get on through an agreement basis, which doesn't seem to be the modus operandi of the council at present. I do acknowledge there is a difficulty in progressing council business, not just at council meetings, but also seemingly now at committee meetings, because really, in a large part, because of the volume of work that's coming in. I don't think it's a good idea or a constructive idea to try and rush agendas and to potentially miss out on discussion and debate on the topics and the detail contained within. I don't think it's helpful or constructive to describe certain issues which our local residents have identified as pet projects. I don't think that's really helping anyone.
Okay, if you can bring your comments to a close, Councillor McAleer, you're approaching 3 minutes there, so if you just sum up there.
In terms of the roads and council estate matters, I think these are issues that have been highlighted and where relevant, do need to be addressed. So I would be very concerned, I suppose, about the route that this is taken, and I would just like to place that on record that I hope and I trust that as we do reach this review, that it won't be an exercise in excluding the smaller parties and the single or the independent councillors from the committees that they currently sit on. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Robert Irvine.
Thanks very much, Chair. Stephen. Question for Alison. I note the paper. I'm happy to note the issues that you've raised with it. What are the next steps? Alison, that's the first question.
Chair, in relation to certainly the committees, for example, the delegation of powers, the associated matters set out within the report around letters, roads matters and so on, they could be progressed from next month on. The terms of reference of the various committees, it would be necessary for those to be just formally reviewed by you as members. There really would be minimal changes to those, but why it is important is if the powers are delegated to the committee, it's important the right matters come before that committee. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the delegated authority to deal with the matter. That can be done quickly if members are so minded. In terms of the subcommittees, again, we could bring the detail of that through. Just the only clarity relates to the status of non-elected members on those. And in terms of the working groups themselves, I know that NILGA are likely to have some specific suggestions for members around working groups and other bodies, so I would probably prefer that those proposals would await your guidance following the NILGA session, which I would be hoping would be before the end of November. But we can move quickly on the other matters. If I may, Chair, I know Councillor Irvine is coming back, but just to respond very briefly to two matters, just on accuracy. from Councillor McAleer. It's just to say that every year the council is formally required to consider your committees and the membership of those. So that will routinely fall to you at the annual meeting. And we may be accused of many things, Chair, but rushing, I wouldn't have thought, is one of them.
That's okay. Going back on that, further comments. If we're bringing separate papers back to deal with some of the other issues, the subcommittees and the progression of council business, could we try and ensure that each recommendation coming forward for discussion and resolution is kept separate, Alison, so we can actually deal with some and maybe deal with others if they need further work? Because I would have, and my party group would have, certain issues with some of the items raised, and this is really not the forum for discussing that. So as long as they're coming back, we can talk about that in more detail. But I welcome the content, and I think that we as a council have to ensure that we're actually doing business properly, effectively and efficiently. And what we've been doing recently is trying to work around the situation. And the situation is that there's a lot of gerrymandering, for want of a better word, within our committees, and work is not progressing. That's my opinion, and I know others will take exception to that, but that's my opinion. I think it's shared by my party group. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Robert. As you can see, members, there's quite a few looking to contribute here, which is welcome. If I can just ask that you make your points as concise and as brief as possible. Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I'm happy enough to note the report. I think that it has some interesting contents that will have to be looked over, and certainly I look further forward to the review that will be going on. I think that ultimately there should be an emphasis on the role of individual self-discipline and sound judgment in terms of what it is that we're actually bringing forward to committee meetings and council meetings. And I think that possibly it's something that we can look at. What could be brought forward is additional guidance on when it is most appropriate or most optimum to seek the authority of the council to write a letter to a minister, whether that be in a situation where possibly the matter at hand is urgent, or if it's a situation where an individual councillor has tried to proceed things by themselves, but they've been unable to do so for various reasons, and they want the support of the council to be able to lobby in that regard. And it is important to remember that the council does have a lobbying role, and that isn't something that should be totally shut down. Although I think that if there is further scope for councillors to be able to work by themselves, then that certainly is something that should be encouraged. And in that regard, I would maybe suggest, because I know that this was circulated sometime last year, it might well be worthwhile the council recirculating contact details for the key statutory agencies and government departments. Just so that elected members do definitely have those contacts at hand so that they can be assisted in their lobbying efforts. And I suppose just the final question that I would just ask Alison is just that in terms of any potential streamlining or possible amalgamation of working groups or committees, what would be the basis for allocating membership to what would essentially be newly reconstituted groups? Would it be similar to the situation with the Irish language and Ulster Scots working groups, where by default initially it would be hoped for that there would be all-party agreement, or would it simply be a case of moving to Daland?
Chair, it would be a matter for members to decide how they wish to, if there were new groups, how they would be populated, both in terms of the number of places and then the method of allocation.
Okay, thank you, Alison. And there's no issue in getting that document round with the departments, and that'd be welcome as well. And that's a good idea, Stephen. Okay, thanks, Stephen. Councillor Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. And I'll keep my video on if I can. Hopefully it'll stay. It's just I do understand from those who are sight and hearing impaired rather, that it's very important that they use lip reading to understand what we're saying. So I think if we can, I think it's important to do that. Anyway,
if we can, yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting report. I think we do need to streamline our activities. I don't think there's any doubt of that. But I think we also need to recognise we're in the middle of the greatest economic recession since the 1920s, or maybe even before. We're also in the middle of a pandemic. and a lot of things are going wrong. And I think this council's faced with huge challenges. And we are doing our best. I actually believe, I did say it yesterday, that this council has taken steps that no other council has taken, and it's something we should be proud of in terms of providing food aid support, vouchers for fuel, poverty. These are things no other council is doing. At the same time, we're challenging every one of these letters that goes out. If we're issuing 60 letters as a council, these are 60 issues that have passed every one of these council meetings. We've agreed we've agreed in a majority as councillors for these to proceed, and these are important issues as a result. So I don't think it's something we should be problematic about. The fact that our council is actually fighting on so many issues is something that is actually something that's positive. I think. We aren't getting the answers we want, but we're still raising the issues, and I think that's part of what people expect us to do. I would just have to say, finally, really, I write direct letters all the time to authorities, ministers. I try to get, when I raise things with the council personally, I believe that the importance of the council writing has its own weight. And I just would have to highlight that I had a motion or a proposal yesterday that was seconded that was rejected, precisely because I happened to mention correspondence I had from, and not related to it necessarily, but I mentioned correspondence that came from a minister that everyone else didn't have sight to. Now, that's the problem when you write directly to a minister, that it actually isn't informing everyone. And I've had to send responses, for example, on the water pollution issue to all the other councillors in the Enniskillen area to ensure that they're fully briefed on what's happening. I've no issue with that, but I think that, you know, there is a value to the council taking a corporate position on many of these issues. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Donal. Councillor Michael Duff.
Gormagat, Chair, Gormagat Harney. I think this is step one in a very important process, and it's a direction of travel we've all agreed to, I think. And I think the paper is well laid out, and it wasn't written down, but it was acknowledged by Alison in her opening remarks that there is a strong appetite within the council to get to grips with rural issues. And, you know, if you think of the DEAs in our council area, Erin West, Erin North, Erin East, Mid Tyrone and West Tyrone, you know, rural in character, you know, according to DFC, DFC won't be funding anything in those areas as such, you know, in terms of regeneration. DAERA doesn't address that issue enough. So I think we'd be sending out an early marker that we envisage a subcommittee which will address rural deficit issues. And but I know it wouldn't appear in the paper today because we're at the very, very first stage. I think it's an interesting point that in the subcommittees, the status of our social partners will have to be addressed. You know, in the working groups, it's clear, or advisory groups or whatever, it's clear, but in a subcommittee would have to just get a definition of our social partners. So I look forward to this exercise up ahead and the NILGA facilitation, but I do think it's a very useful first step. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Councillor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I have to agree with a lot of what all has already been said, but one thing I do take exception to is Councillor McAleer's comments on the Disability Action Group. He seems to be unaware what the Disability Action Group's role was or is, and a lot of what was discussed.
Councillor Warrington, this is actually up on the agenda very shortly. If you want to hold back commentary on the disability,
I'd like to just finish
well, briefly then. So,
20 seconds. A lot of it was discussed at the last meeting was items that should have and were dealt with by individual councillors in their DAs, most of which were DFA issues. Certainly, the Disability Action Group has been working harmoniously from this super council started. And when you get individuals producing a second agenda,
okay, Victor, no, this is actually up now, Victor, very shortly. So if you want to maybe bring your comments to a close and deal with this very shortly on the
well, when you get an agenda produced a day before the actual meeting, that was neither put past the officers or the
Right,
chair
okay, Victor.
would lead to problems. Thank you.
Okay, and we can deal with that in detail 5.4. Thanks for that. Councillor Green, Seamus.
Thank you, Chair. Well, yeah, it's a useful report, and I know there's a lot of work to be done on it. The Rural Inequalities Group subcommittee, I think, is one that we definitely need to pursue. I would suggest that it should be a subcommittee. I'm not sure whether this has been touched on previously, because my broadband has went down twice from the meeting started. So, but that'll be my thing on the rural group, that it should be a subcommittee. But I suppose that's we can touch on that. I don't think it has been mentioned within the report, even though this has been suggested months ago. But I'm sure somebody has touched on it previously. So it's just to highlight that rural group that we don't get about it, because I think it's essential what's happening in rural areas.
Okay, thanks, Seamus. Councillor Garrity.
Thank you, Chairman, and I'll be very, very brief because we've a lot on. Just to say that the report is a good starting point, all right, but as how we go forward, I think we had a very useful meeting today at 2 o'clock, a workshop that many attended, and I think that highlights really what we have to do as a corporate body and as a duty towards our people and as a council going forward. And I think that's the realisation most people have realised in that meeting, that we do have to get kind of our act together and work collectively as a team. And I can understand people wanting to write letters and the importance of them, but you know, if we could, it is a big difference in 8 and 10 and other councils to 60. You know, even we managed to have them would be a huge help and speed things up to get our work done, because we have big decisions to take ahead and we need to be fit to make them without getting sidetracked. I'd also say that I would suggest that, you know, the reports, as you know, they don't have to be going through in depth. People can read them and through to the recommendations more. If people have an issue on them, pick them out when the reports coming through at committees. Or indeed, as Celine mentioned one time, that she was happy to take any queries prior to the meeting, and I know the other directors are equally as accommodating with that. And I think many councillors do liaise with their officers directly and DFA and all our groups, and you actually find you get more results quicker that way. So if we as all councillors could adopt that for a while, because the year that's coming into us is going to be really testing, and we do have to work together as a team, and I believe we can, but I just think we need to have everyone on the same page, and hopefully we will and be better for a chair. So thank you.
Thanks, Mary. Councillor Gannon, Adam.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll be as quick as I can, because I recognise the irony of so many speakers on something about streamlining our business. Correspondence and letters and proposals, we do a lot of them, obviously, as has been said many times, and sometimes it's nearly councillors lobbying for stuff that they should really be doing individually or could be done individually. And again, proposals kind of, and I'm as guilty of this as the next councillor, we kind of make proposals kind of come out of nowhere to a degree. We're on an item and then a proposal comes up. So, Chair, and it's just a thought and it's just an idea, and maybe other councillors have an opinion on it. Maybe we should have some mechanism similar to AOB, where if we're making a proposal on an item, because I know beforehand a meeting, because I've read the papers, I know if I want to make a proposal, when I want to make it, and on which paper, and I'm sure other councillors are the same. We should have some sort of mechanism where we have to notify the chair for it to be a valid proposal or something to that effect. I think that could be a way to cut down and kind of spur the moment things. Now, I do understand during discussion proposals may come up and counter proposals, and it's difficult to handle for yourself in that regard and for all the chairs. But maybe that's an idea, some sort of mechanism around that can be explored further, and maybe other councillors have an opinion on that sort of approach. It's not necessarily right or wrong, but just an idea. And the other point I was going to make, Chair, was around the reports. Maybe similarly, Chair, questions on reports shouldn't necessarily be taken in the meetings. They should have to be submitted to the relevant director or officer beforehand. And as well as that, we all read the reports. I've said it. Maybe when it comes to summaries, sometimes we have long summaries for stuff that's noted, sometimes we don't. Maybe we should shorten down those summaries as well, Chair, but just some ideas, and it'd be interesting to hear what everyone's doing. But we're heading on the right path, I think. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Yes, it's good to hear some fresh thinking and ideas, and we note them down, Alison, and they'll go into that piece of work. Councillor Deehan's up next.
Thank you, Chair. I welcome this report. It is the start of an exploration which is important and which will set the scene going forward. There has been long dissatisfaction, particularly this term, with the length of meetings and also the way in which the meetings are conducted. I think each councillor has a unique contribution to make, and I've long been in favour of inclusion rather than exclusion. I'm always impressed by the commitment of each member and the passion with which they contribute on a huge variety of topics. You know, we do have status as Fermanagh and Omagh District Council, and we should use that status and influence to lobby the statutory agencies and central government. It's up to the chair to decide what is relevant, what is not relevant, and standing order sets down the length of time an individual member can contribute. With regard to the informal meetings, I have to say, since they went online, I've been able to join many more of them. I find them very useful, educational, informative. I hope they do continue. In respect of the Agricultural Liaison Group and the Health and Social Care Group, I have long lobbied and suggested that they should be subcommittees of council to increase their effectiveness and to increase their status and authority within the council. That is something that I would be in favour of. But I definitely feel that the full member status of our main committees should be maintained because of the benefits of inclusivity. As Councillor O'Coffey says, we are living in unprecedented times, global pandemic, economic crisis, Brexit. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of business to get through, and therefore agendas are long. So, you know, we have to be effective and efficient, but still we have to do our job at the end of the day. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Josephine. Okay, so we have Councillor Curry up next. Siobhan.
Just on the committees, I suppose, the committees we have at present, I mean, my opinion, just in terms of getting business done, we do have full member committees. I think we're quite unique maybe in that regard compared to other council areas, and I don't see why the powers couldn't be delegated to those committees just to action things more efficiently. I'm someone who has been quite frustrated at the amount of roads issues that have been coming up consistently. My experience, and I take it this may be different in different areas, but the DEA meetings as well as the contacts with DFA roads locally, I have found actually to be very good. That's my personal experience, and therefore I don't need or feel the need to really bring up every bump in the road. That's not to say that strategic issues couldn't be brought up. Just to finish, Chair, I'm just wondering, and I take the comments around correspondence and the volume, and certainly I've noticed at times correspondence even crossing over, and we haven't had a response back, and we're writing another letter, and it seems a bit of a fruitless exercise even when we do receive responses half the times that don't answer the question. So I'm just wondering, is the partnership panel and NILGA, is that a way for us, is that the only way at present for us, aside from meetings to engage with ministers or departments? And I know we have the informal meetings with statutory agencies as and when, and maybe if it is, would it be a better use of our time rather than all the letter writing that each minister could actually come and meet with the council on an annual basis, and we can have, you know, a full agenda and go through really the big strategic issues
Okay.
for the people in the district.
Okay, so we're taking all these points as feedback, you know, so these will all be noted. Is it Councillor Fitzgerald up next? I can see Anne here. I'm not too sure if it's Councillor Donnelly or Councillor Fitzgerald. Councillor Fitzgerald. Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, if you can hear me, you're on mute.
Hello. There we go. It took me a while getting there. Just sorry, Chair.
No bother.
I am not going to go over what the whole load of people have said, but this is a good way forward. It's very strategic, and I think it's up to all councillors to embrace it and carry forward with it and not go back into old, long habits. From our previous council, I think Alison can agree and other councillors that we had a hard template. We had sort of a template where all governing bodies was on it, like NA Water and DFA Roads and other. And if a councillor wanted to bring up something, they wrote in that form, give it to whoever was the administrator in the council, and they forward all those queries on. So maybe I propose that we give out hard copies to councillors who's maybe not email au fait or even on an email format. Could also have a job done, stating at the front of all meetings that no local issues will be raised, DFA roads such as potholes or a small leak on the road or whatever. I think because then everybody's come back in again and we're not getting the work done. And as previous councillor says, like we have local names and local people that we use from DFA roads and NA Water, and that we can issue, and we have a good relationship with them, and I think it's a way forward. So maybe just that proposal, if we could get a hard copy sent out to all councillors or an email format, that can we give back into the staff members to forward on, and I think that's one of the better way and more proactive and in our meetings. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm a little confused, Chair, and I appreciate different experiences. I think, first of all, to say, trying to put the same amount of water into the same, trying to put more water into the same size of vessel just does not work. We now have 40 councillors as opposed to the 23 councillors we used to have in Fermanagh, and trying to push the amount of work through a committee in 2.5 hours is just not feasible. And we have seen that. Now, I don't say that we should take all day, every day at these things, but trying to do the same thing all the time, the same way, and expecting a different result is the height of madness. So I honestly believe we need more time for the committees. I believe that is a core part of our job as councillors, is to scrutinise this thing. And if we're writing 60 letters, as Donald says, there's 60 issues that we have raised. Now, I think an awful lot of why we're writing 60 letters is that we're getting little to no proper response from ministers, from departments and everything else. I cite the issue that we have, and I've heard other councillors mention the DEA meetings. DEA meeting held in Ernest on the 30th of June. We have yet to have a reply from Brian Stewart. Now that's unacceptable, and I think unless this council gets a grip with the head of the civil service and gets some sort of understanding through NILGA or through whoever to get proper responses coming back in a timely manner, we're just not making headway, and all we're doing is creating work for ourselves. I think it's important that we try to manage our own agendas and so forth, and trying to put regeneration and community through on the one night is just too much work. It's just too much business trying to be done. So we need to really look at splitting that. As I said, the time for committees needs to be looked at, and I appreciate that 7 to 10 slot for most people is working and all the rest. But either we do less business and delegate more business, or we can't do the same amount through, or split the committees or do something. And then generally, Chair, I would say as a council and as under Alison and the senior member team, we're taking too long to do these reviews and to change systems. We're still having the tourism thing sorted out. We still have members' rooms sorted out. It's just taken too long. Now we're going into another review of this. How long is this? And I'd be very, very interested how long this is going to take. And we're still going to be months and months behind trying to catch up on our business. But unless we get an understanding right from the head of civil service down through that proper correspondence gets properly answered in a timely manner, doesn't matter whether we send 60 letters or 10 letters if we're not getting the proper responses through, Chair. So I'm very keen to see this happen, welcome it, we really need it, but I am pushing to see this happen sooner rather than later, Chair. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you, Thomas. Points well made. Councillor Thornton, Howard.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I agree with quite a bit of what Thomas has said there. What I just want to clarify, in 2.3, it talks about the statutory committees. They cannot be reviewed until next year. Whilst I know they cannot be implemented, surely this NILGA review is going to cover those existing committees, even though there can be no change granted until the AGM, or indeed in the extraordinary AGM. So I wanted clarity on that, because I think it's essential that we do a review on existing committees. As Thomas said, we've all been talking about the regen community is totally impossible for any chair to get through with so many agenda items. And so that's my main point. I want to make sure that we are reviewing. It says we cannot review, but sure, the NILGA report can review, and the implementation, of course, cannot take place until the AGM. Thank you,
Okay.
Chair.
I looked at Alice, I think we can review, but any implementation can't be completed until AGM.
Sorry, that's correct, Chair. That's more accurate. We can include within the review, but we can't substantiate any change on statutory provisions for next year.
Okay, Councillor Sean Donnelly.
It's just the way 2.3 is written. Sorry, Chair. It says that it can't be reviewed. It can't be implemented. Thank you.
Can't be implemented. That's it. Thank you, Howard. Thanks for that. Okay, Councillor Sean Donnelly.
Thank you very much, Chair. I waited a while there. I have to agree with a lot of stuff that was said there about the inequalities in rural communities. So I'm not the reason Barry made a proposal there, and I'm happy to second it. And the reason I'm seconding it is because, for different reasons, but one of the primary reasons is take my own DDA, the Bracky Bridge. It's now 2.5 years. Sorry, nearly 2.5 years since that road was closed as a result of the bridge, and as the bridge been walked away. I proposed, I think in May or June 2019, and it was passed to the council to write to the DFA that time a sharp letter. So that's nearly 18 months ago, and still nothing has done. Now, as of yesterday, no work had started on that bridge. I think that's totally unacceptable.
Okay, Sean, we don't want to go into road service territory tonight, Sean.
I think there's no other area, no other place in these areas where that would be allowed to happen. Thank you very much.
Okay, point made. Thanks, Sean. And folks, try and keep it on the agenda in front of us here now. Councillor Feely, Anthony.
Thank you, Gavin. I'll be very brief.
Thank you, Anthony.
My colleagues have said that. And I agree totally with Siobhan about this crack of bringing up road issues at meetings and all the time. Totally out of order. No need for that. Only delaying the meetings. And I was looking at all the working groups and committees there, and just when they're looking at the review of that, will Alison take away of the cross-border committee that I sit on that hasn't been a meeting since 2014, the A4 N16 cross-border committee. Just note of that and just look into it.
Okay.
And I think if there should be a rural group subcommittee set up. I think that's one of the things we have to get set up and have it as a committee. That's only my view on it.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. Councillor McClary.
Thank you, Chair. I can't really disagree with what most of the other councillors have said. As a new councillor, obviously, I basically got a year under our belt and we were on to different times. There's a lot of new councillors come in at the same time as myself. I find that the letter writing, there has to be some better way. Sometimes we're writing 2 and 3 letters to the one minister, and there doesn't seem to be any way of holding ministers, and because our MLAs are not directly, we've some MLAs who are mid Ulster, and some MLAs are from Annan South Tyrone, and there doesn't seem to be any political account going up to go up, and I don't know how do we write letters to our MLAs to ask them to ask it just seems silly writing letters to ministers and getting the replies back. And also, with having had plenty of hours on my hands lying up convalescing at the moment, there is a resident from Gortin who sends a synopsis of every meeting. I'm sure some of you may have read them, some of them may not. But sometimes it's damning reading whenever you look and see what exactly we've achieved during some of our epic meetings. So I'll just leave it at that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, John. And I just sense there maybe that you've been off your foot in the last few while, so just best wishes to yourself, and hopefully you're back in full steam soon. Councillor Swift.
Guramagat, Cahirlock, and yes, I think probably the crux of it when we hear everybody talking, and this is a good starting point. We should have more powers devolved to council, because we'd sorted all out, all the issues and all the problems. I do agree this is a very good start, and I have already liaised with Alison on some of the areas about gaps and about better work in alignment and streamlining, and everything should reflect back to, very importantly, our community plan, which is all about our citizens and our ratepayers. And we can see where the gaps are, and other councillors have already mentioned it regarding infrastructure, which is a strategic priority for us. I'll not mention anything about Bowen Darragonley here tonight, but anyway, the skills again, which could come in for economic development, and very importantly our environment, and thereafter tourism, how we deal with tourism in a completely different way. We've had meetings recently with a lot of the other stakeholders who really aren't understanding and embracing the vision that we want to see for Lough Erne and for our waterways. And if we had the power to do that, I do believe we'd get it done. I want to raise on the point about the 60 letters. And when that was first told to us as a fact, I thought, oh my God, that's an awful lot of letters. And are we achieving the benefit? But then on quick reflection, we in Fermanagh have had to write the amount of letters that we have in the past and currently because of the serious lack of underinvestment to us west in the Bann. And ministers who are in Stormont have to be accountable for all of that. So if we haven't been satisfied with a response back, you further respond, and that's what we're elected to do. And I don't believe there is any voter out there who would criticise or condemn us for taking the action and the necessary action that we have to take. So if it means writing, well then let's write. And I think sometimes too, maybe the officials, it was something that I was going to talk about last night on the agricultural, Dennis McMahon didn't get back to us as promised, arising from the recent ministers' meeting, so they have to be accountable also. I would be totally against the suggestion about any other business on proposals, because I would feel strongly that that would only add another layer of bureaucracy. And look, that's what we're trying to get away from. A chair obviously could refuse that, which has happened. So that is perceived as unfair then. So we want to get away from that. And finally, I think there needs to be another shaping up of the WebEx and the tech ability as well. I think it's a good start here, the hands up where we can see the queuing system, and again a more streamlining of the consistency on the chair's approach to business as well. If they were all the same, it would be kind of easier to understand what's the style and preferred approach, in following an agenda. So that's my tuppence worth, and I just ask Alison then, in terms of Nilga facilitating this process, do we know when, and is it just going to be like this virtually as well? I'm taking the points that other councillors are making about it's sometimes better to be meeting actually socially distanced to make progress. But obviously, bearing in mind the global pandemic, we have to be safe as well. But how is that going to be and when, Alison? And that's it. Garmagat, Stephen.
Okay, thank you, Bernice.
Chair, just to say, I'm hoping it will be before the end of November, but if not very early into December, the facilitation. That's just regarding NILGA availability. And it will, I think, be a virtual engagement given the extent of restrictions which are in place at the moment around indoor gatherings. So that would be my assumption at this point, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Alison. So there's been a good discussion to date on this issue, folks. So, Councillor Erskine, just briefly, if you can, you've been in already, I think, have you?
Yeah, I understand that, Chair. Thank you. Just very briefly, I just wanted to say I don't want my comments to be misconstrued, but certainly we have to be realistic in terms of the issues that we bring up, because some of them we have no jurisdiction over and we're writing letters on it. So I just wanted to make that further point. Thank you, Chair, for letting me back in.
Okay, Councillor Baird.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm going to be brief and agree with most of what has been said, which is almost a standard phrase now here. But great emphasis has been put on the length of time that it's taken to do business. Any business or government organisation which has a board, the committees of that board are always less. It's standard procedure for the committees to be less. There's no place where you have full member committees. We had the opportunity to change that. Now, some people try to represent that exclusion was going to be put in. But we bear in mind, there are 11 councils in Northern Ireland and we're the only council with full committees. So Thomas quite rightly referred back to Fermanagh. I think he said 20. I thought we had 26 councillors. Maybe it was, no, it was 23. Okay, we've gone up to 40. But in that dispensation, the committees were not full member committees either, and the business was done. But the opportunity was there and people didn't take it. And others who wanted to misconstrue what was being done for their own ego did it. Thank you, Chair.
Last word, Councillor Michael Duff. And again, briefly, Barry, if you can.
Maybe one sentence. Can I encourage Alison, when talking to NILGA, that some look is given across the border to the concept of municipal areas, and that would equate to our DEAs having regular meetings with various bodies. So the concept of municipal areas, we would have 7 of them. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Barry. Okay, so in conclusion then, so folks, we've got a proposer from Councillor Thompson and seconded by Councillor Erskine to note the report. And Barry has proposed, Councillor Michael Duff, and seconded by Councillor Sean Donnelly, that any future rural group would be given subcommittee status. Are we all in agreement? Thank you, members. If you just check your hands, make sure they're down. We move on to 5.2, which is to approve the draft social media policy for councillors. It's before you, members, so I'm happy to take a proposer and seconder to approve that document. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Sorry, Chair. I think I didn't take my hand down. Is that me down now?
That's you. Councillor McAleer.
On reading through the attachments in the report, I think this seems to be a fairly sensible, very logical report. I just would raise a correction or a point of accuracy in relation to it's the rural needs impact attachment, and it's page number 3. Point 2b, where it's explaining how the policy impacts on rural areas, and the last line of that refers to positive manor, spelt M-A-N-O-R. Obviously, that's not the intention, so if that could be corrected. I do think that when we're dealing with the social media policy, and it is referenced, but maybe not strongly enough, that the rural impact on that is obviously going to be our connectivity and people's connectivity in rural areas to accessing, be it through broadband or 3G or 4G coverage. So I think that maybe could be addressed a bit more explicitly in relation to the rural needs application. But if that was possibly strengthened a bit, or if that was included a bit more possibly than it was, I'd be happy to propose the documentation. I don't know what the feedback there beside you would be on that, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Emmett. Maybe invite Alison. Maybe you're happy enough with that? Yeah.
No, that's fine. Certainly, Chair. We can pick up the typo in relation to the spelling, and we can look again at the impact. I suppose just to highlight it is policy specific as opposed to infrastructure related, but we can certainly reflect back on the points that Councillor McAleer has made.
Thanks,
Chair.
Alison.
Chair, there's a bit of feedback on there from Alison.
My fault. I didn't mute there. I should be muting there. Thanks. Councillor Irving.
Chair, thank you very much, Stephen. Happy to second the proposal. A query back to, Celine, I presume, because it's her directorate. I noted at some stage that every time a policy came forward on the cover sheet, we were saying where the date of the first version was, and then any revision dates would be thereafter. And obviously the records would keep that we would keep old ones. I know that it's not on this, but in some of the subsequent policies later on in the committee, they are bringing that forward. I'm asking for consistency because the issue of trying to put an outdated policy out, if you wipe all other policies, I know it's a procedure, but it's also trying to make sure that you're actually keeping your record straight. So I suppose that's directed towards Celine.
Okay, thanks, Robert. Now, Celine currently, she isn't with us tonight. Maybe have Alison, or we'll just note down comments.
Margaret is there, Chair.
Yeah, that's grand. Okay, thank you. Grand. Councillor Maguire.
Just wishing to make a comment in relation to item 7.2 in Appendix 1. It's in relation to the Code of Conduct, and I just wish to bring it to the attention of all councillors that when we are using social media, that we avoid bringing position of the councillor or your council into disrepute. And it's just I've become aware that quite a few comments have been made on social media by some of our councillor colleagues that in some way could be slightly regarded as maybe not factually 100% accurate. I'm also aware that there's on social media there's also been other attacks on, and indeed on some female members of our council, and some of these memes have appeared. It's a problem we all have to deal with, and probably as one of the older councillors, it gets more difficult for me to deal with, given that I do believe that sniping and biting is good enough in the chamber. I'm happy enough to take it there, but when you see things repeated on social media that maybe aren't 100% accurate, can be quite difficult to deal with. And given that the only redress, as far as I know, then is to report to the commissioner, etc., a very long-winded idea, and maybe finding the actual content that can be misinterpreted in several ways. But I just thought I'd bring it to the attention, because I am aware we have had some slight innuendos about other councillors on social media, and to tell you the truth, personally I'm not happy, and I'm sure the rest of the councillors, some of those have been attacked, especially by memes, are certainly not happy.
Okay, so Margaret, looking in there, Margaret McMahon.
Thank you, Chair. Just in reference to Councillor Irvine's point about the updates to the social media policy, this is the first time we've done this policy, so it is actually a new one. As Councillor Irvine rightly says, we have provided updates to the corporate health and safety policy, because that is indeed what it was. It is an update to an existing policy. So just to clarify that particular issue. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Margaret. Okay, so the policy is proposed by Councillor McAleer and seconded by Councillor Irvine, and we're all agreed. Thank you. 5.3 is to consider reports on the health and safety policy updates. Recommendations. Point 1 is to note the changes to the corporate health and safety policy, and 2 is to approve the draft safe driving at work policy. Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Happy to propose a recommendation. Thank you.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. And Councillor McAleer.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just reading through it, I think the bit that was really jumping out at me is on page 15 of the first appendix, and the radon in the workplace. And whilst I'm aware of it, I suppose in my own area, I wasn't aware maybe so much that it was a particular problem at the Marble Arch Geopark, and obviously with that being council council facilities, it's quite concerning. It's quite worrying, as it notes the rate on tasteless and odorless and colourless gas. It's one that's particularly vicious and particularly evil. So I think it is important that we do have a policy which, amongst everything else is covered in the report, covers this particular threat to human health and human well-being as well. So a very informative report, and I commend the officers in bringing it, and I'm happy to second the adoption of the report, or noting the report as well, Chair.
Okay, Gormagat. Councillor Thornton.
Sorry, Chair, I would come in to second that. It's a good report, but it's already done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Howard. So it's been proposed and seconded, and we're all agreed. Okay, so 5.4 then, so is to discuss the Disability Advisory Group held on the 30th of October, paper D. The paper is before us for noting the update. I take a proposer and seconder, please. Councillor Thornton.
Here, I'm somewhat disappointed in this report. Being a member of the Project Steering Committee for the Public Realm, at all times from its inception, we have involved consultations with the Disability Action Group and many other groups with consultations, changes. We actually went out on the town on scooters and so on. And, you know, really we had agreement. So I'm not sure what, you know, this discussion, you know, about widening footpaths at such a late stage, having been involved from the inception of the project in Enniskillen and working alongside us. So I just cannot understand the remarks that are made within the working group. So it's just to make comment on that, Chair.
Thanks. Councillor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I'm not going to go over what I said earlier. Apart from to agree with Councillor Thornton, what we have achieved so far and some of the stuff that we have done, to highlight to council more than anything the difficulties that people with disabilities have, and at the end of the day, that's why we were set up to highlight stuff to the council more so than anything else. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm not going to get into debate.
Okay, thanks, Victor. Councillor Coffey, Donal.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's perhaps I can help relieve Councillor Thornton's disappointment. I'm not sure that would ever be the case, but in any case, the Disability Action Group did discuss the opportunities that present themselves through the additional funding that has been provided by the Minister for Infrastructure, above and beyond what has been provided under the improvement to the thoroughfare scheme that he rightfully discusses. But there are obviously issues, in particular, I think, in Omagh around access, but I'm also aware of issues in Enniskillen around the width of pavements, and some of the members in the disability group would have related the difficulty that they experienced because of the nature of the COVID lockdown and the narrow path that is provided for them. So there was a certain agreement within the committee to present to the wider council, because we were told that the committee has no authority at all, but to present, and that's the intent of this, is to present some options with the additional money that's out there for improving and making real improvements to disability access in terms of Enniskillen and Omagh. And I think personally, although I am on that committee and I can't make a proposal, I would urge councillors to take this opportunity, because I think we can't let down any section of our community when it comes to the re-emergence out of the lockdown. So thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor McAleer.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to support what Councillor Coffey said there, and I think likewise I'm kind of hamstrung because I'm on this group, and as he's rightly said, then it kind of limits what we can and can't say and what we can propose. But I would, feeding back from the response of the members of the Disability Advisory Group, who made, well, in my opinion at least, a number of very reasoned and very well thought out arguments and contributions, both those that were present and those who weren't able to attend for one reason or another. They had little things like even being included in drawing up the agenda of the group. I think there's a lot of good work, as Councillor Warrington rightfully says, coming from this group, but there's so much potential there between the participants on the group and the willingness, I have to say, in my experience of the councillors, to work with them and to try and address that, and indeed the council officials. The particular issue that we had been asked to feedback on, and that the report had been requested to specifically note, as Councillor O'Coffey has highlighted, the potential for additional funding which is available. I don't need to tell anybody here that accessibility is a legal requirement, and we have to be aware of our Section 75 responsibilities, but where we have the ability to go above and beyond, as has been noted previously in this meeting, with our additional letter writing as opposed to other councillors, I would implore that the council would support the group, and hopefully someone will make the proposal and it will be passed tonight. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Amit. I'll take in Victor and then invite in Alison at the end. Go ahead, Victor.
Just very briefly, just to say there is avenues to bring this stuff to the committee in the proper fashion and not in the way that it was done. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Warrington. Alison?
Thanks, Chair. And maybe just separate out the two items in terms of the two town centres. So in relation to Enniskillen, first of all, Chair, the review that has been mentioned, or the potential locations, as has been mentioned, I think by Councillor Thornton, already been done. It was done at the outset of the project on a street-by-street basis, on a crossing-by-crossing basis, and on a curb line basis. The design of the scheme is reflective of the technical constraints in terms of service provisions, in terms of visibility splays, and in terms of safety. The scheme has got the highest possible support in terms of the Disability Advisory Group heretofore, and similarly from IMTAC, and it has met all of the safety standards. The issue has not been about money, and I think it's misleading to suggest that new money actually creates new opportunities in Enniskillen. So the optimum design for safety, pavement width, crossing points and drop curves has been achieved. That is the scheme, and that's the scheme we're delivering. In terms of OMA, the situation, and I know we've made representations on this separately to DFI, is that there is money available, and if DFI are certainly willing to take on board those works, I'm sure a mechanism can be found for the council's allocation to allocate across to DFI. My understanding from previous discussions is that officers in DFI were not so minded for that work, but that may not be the case, and we can certainly formalise that request. So in terms of Enniskillen, Chair, the scheme within the public realm is the optimum scheme, and that's the scheme we're doing. There are some areas outside of the scheme, including in relation to the Ironside connection and down further to the Buttermarket, which are outside of our red line, that we are able to do additional work as a result of the budget.
Okay, thanks for that, Alison. Can I take a proposer and seconder then, so to note the document, please? Councillor Robinson? Thanks. Seconder, please.
I'll second there, Stephen. Councillor Gannon.
Thanks, Adam. We're all agreed. Okay, thanks, members. So, section 6 of the meeting, Catherine's online to take any questions that we have on these number of reports. So 6.1 is our normal monthly financial matters report, paper E, and I'll just take a proposer and seconder for that, please. Councillor Robinson.
Opposed.
And Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Seconded, Chair.
Thank you, and we're all in agreement, yeah. Councillor Irvine.
Just a question for Catherine coming out of the workshop this afternoon, if she's online.
Go ahead, yeah.
I think that the financial report presented, because of everything, there may be a return surplus this year due to certain circumstances. I know our normal stance has been to put surpluses into reserves or use them for any specific purpose. We did have something forward last night, which is very commendable with regard to the social economy. But looking at our proposed estimates for next year, would the idea of trying to earmark some of the surpluses due to the activity this year be directed towards the revenue issue going forward and the constraints of it? Bearing in mind we don't want to raise rates that are extortionate. So it's just a question and sort of thinking outside the box. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Catherine, if you're there.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor Irvine. And just to respond to your query, at the PNR meeting in October, when we brought the revised budget for 2021, we did get agreement at that meeting that any surpluses that might arise in the current 19-20 year would be transferred to a reserve of a contingency type to help towards the budgeting process for 2021-22 or thereafter.
Okay, Robert.
Thank you very much indeed, Catherine. We need to bear that in mind, obviously, going forward with the elections process. And thank you, Stephen, for letting me back in. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, Councillor McAleer, Emmett.
Yeah, I think Catherine's probably addressed it there. It was similar to Robert. I think it was just relating to the commitments possibly be profiled in light of emerging needs, but I think Robert's addressed that.
Okay, thanks, Emmett. So we've got a proposer and seconder for that report, Councillor Robinson and Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly. Are we all agreed? Yeah, perfect. Paper F then, members, 6.2 on the agenda is to note the update report on procurement and tenders. Councillor Blake.
Yeah, just propose, Chair.
Okay, just for clarity, just the recommendation was to note the tenders, approve to proceed the tender toward the most economically advantageous submission in terms of the lease of 4 multifunction printing devices and digitisation of paper-held accounts, and approves LPS to carry out the valuation exercises. So just a couple of aspects of that recommendation, Paul. Happy enough?
Yeah, happy enough, Chair.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you for the report. I'm happy to second.
Perfect, and we're all agreed. Okay, thanks, folks. So 6.3 is our monthly staff matters report, paper G, and again, members, it's before us for noting. Councillor Irvine.
Happy to propose noting, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor John Coyle.
Second, Chair.
Thank you. And we're all agreed. Okay, members, this takes us on to correspondence. 7.1 is to consider correspondence from the 19th of October 2020 from the Department of Communities. Proposer and seconder, note that, please.
Propose, Councillor Blake.
Thank you.
Second, Councillor Warrington.
And we all agreed?
Chair, I'm not agreed.
Okay, go ahead. Councillor McAleer first there.
It's really just this letter is really quite objectionable, I find, in the current circumstances. I don't understand what has changed in the preceding 6 months that the minister sees fit to hike the rent by, I think it was 8.5%. To me, it's completely unacceptable. I don't think we should be willing to just note this letter. I think we should be returning correspondence to the department and saying that it's not acceptable that people are still suffering in November 2020 as they were when the rent freeze was initially instigated. And to me, it's really just not good enough, and I'm quite surprised that it's just been recorded as noted. So I would actually propose that we respond to the minister or her department and request that this be reinvestigated or relooked at, Chair.
Councillor Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would entirely concur. I don't understand why we need to see an above inflation rent increase for social housing tenants at this time when we have plummeting employment people are struggling to put food on in the table. So I'm happy to second that, Chair, that we write back. I think we have to put up to this council spending £30,000 on food aid in our area, £20,000 on fuel poverty, and we're seeing rent go up by above inflation. I don't see how that's necessary. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, are we all in agreement with that proposal? Okay, all agreed. We move on. 7.2 is an update from Royal Mail from Michael Hogg following his recent informal meeting with the council in relation to postcodes BT75, BT94, and it's before us for noting. If I take a proposer, Councillor Green.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Alison in relation to this. This is the same day, isn't it, that because I came in late to the meeting, that met us from Royal Mail in around this. This is the same guy that when I explained what the problem was, he was shocked because it was the first time he heard about it, even though we had wrote numerous times from the council in around this. This letter doesn't even address what was mentioned that day, and that's why I was again confused. Is this the same guy who had promised at the end of that meeting that he would certainly delve into what had been explained to him? But that letter doesn't answer whatsoever what was actually said to him that day. Could Alison maybe comment on that? And am I right? Is this the same guy that was there? And is this the response to our questions that day?
Yeah, yes, Chair, just to confirm on both points, that is the same gentleman who was in attendance at the meeting, and this is the response to the matters raised by members at the meeting, and it's the only response that we've received.
Well, then I'm going to do what has been suggested we shouldn't do before, but I suggest that we definitely write back to this man and point out that that in no way reflects what the problem is in BT94. I'm not sure of the other postcode, but BT94, that has nothing in relation to what the problem is, what he answered us on. And could he please answer the questions that was asked him that day?
Okay, Seamus, thank you. Councillor Garrity.
Thank you, Chair, and I will happily and also reluctantly second Seamus's proposal there, because I think quite rightly it's a question to be asked when they haven't answered these questions, and especially when there's been previous correspondence and an indication of questions. However, it does highlight these letters are not doing what they're meant to do, and we just had one in the previous one that nobody has any objection to in theory, but we need to maybe starting on a clean foot maybe next month really know the merits of these. But certainly it is frustrating from our point of view, but I don't hold much hope that we're getting the responses that we should be getting. It keeps it on the agenda, but speed things on, Chair. I'll second Councillor Green's, but if that's been the response to date, I don't hold much hope going forward, and I think going forward our letter writing should reflect that too, because I don't think we're getting what we deserve, unfortunately.
Okay, Councillor Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. Again, yeah, I just would like to request Councillor Green would slightly add something in for me. First of all, I have to say that it is notable that this comes from a PR, public relations person rather than someone in an operational capacity. So that tells you something straight away. The second thing is it takes a PR guru probably to claim that the post office is doing everything it can do in terms of safeguarding the workers who are involved. We've had walkouts across a number of sorting offices, particularly in the west of Northern Ireland, where there have been failures to impose proper cleanses of workplaces, and workers are refusing to put themselves at risk, where we've had severe outbreaks in some cases. And I just want to take this opportunity to actually send out a solidarity shout to the CWI brothers and sisters who have actually put it up to the management in the post office to defend their basic health and safety. So just if Councillor Green, if I could ask you if you could put in a reference to the need to ensure deep cleanses of workplaces as the CWU have requested it. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Green, are you happy with that?
Yeah, and I'm very happy with that, but I would possibly suggest that that is possibly two different things we're talking about, and it might be actually better to separate them, to give them to give that what Donald's saying more heedings. But I'm happy to do that if that's what Donald wants to get.
Don, maybe you make that a second separate proposal.
I'm fine with that. Thank you, Chair. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Don. Councillor Warrington.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to stretch this out. I know. I just want to agree with Councillor Green as somebody who lives in the BT75 area and within the great depth. I know Councillor Green wasn't in at the time, that I within great depth to explain this to this gentleman that day of the problems in the area. And you know, the guy wasn't even aware of them. He didn't know that we had these problems. And having met with our own building control officers quite recently to discuss this, I know there's no easy solutions for it, but certainly, you know, this guy's response is very weak to say the least. Thank you.
Councillor Catherine Kelly.
Yeah, hi Chair, thanks. I want to support what Councillor Green and Councillor Garrity said, and also I'll second Councillor Coffey's letter for deep cleansing of workplaces. We can't expect our workers to be working where their lives are endangered through a virus. I would like to add that in the past 2 weeks in Carrickmore and Cregan, it's the largest lobby I've had in weeks and since I became a councillor, of people who are not receiving their mail for days and days on end. And I don't need to highlight the fact that, you know, we have patients waiting for letters from hospitals. I actually had one cancer patient contact me about an appointment gone astray. So I don't need to go into it all with all of you, but we certainly need to focus on this issue and make sure that our constituents are getting their important mail. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine. Councillor McAleer.
Yes, Chair, just to support the proposal from Councillor Coffey there and send solidarity to the workers who were forced to walk out. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Deehan.
Yes, thank you. I just came in to second Councillor O'Coffey's proposal, but it already has been done. The deep cleansing of workplace is really, really important. Workers need to be assured of their personal safety at this time, so I support the proposal. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Councillor Anthony Feely.
Thank you, Haley. And my hand's messing about. I had it up sooner there, but I had to put it back up. No, I just seen the Seamus that was the guy that was with us that night, that day, because I was at that meeting. And I remember Victor did go into great detail about that, and he had to talk about it, which I found strange. But I had another wee issue with him, and it's my own fault. I did forget to forward the details to Leanne, so I must do it this week. I just forgot about that.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. Okay, moving on to 7.3, and as correspondence from Nilga. Just to go back and check, folks, we're all agreed with them proposals. We're all happy enough. It's been proposed and seconded, and we're all content. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So 7.3 from Nilga, and it's around an online masterclass, if you want, for councillors around finance. That's on Thursday, the 3rd of December, 2020, and we're happy to take any expressions of interest now. Councillor Deehan, your hand's up still, maybe.
Thank you, Chair. May I be for that Zoom meeting, Chair? Thank you.
Okay. And Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. I was just going to propose to note the correspondence.
Thanks, Anne-Marie. Councillor Maguire.
Quite happy to second it, but would also like my name put forward for it, Chair. Or do we just contact myself to Nilga?
We can do it here through Democratic Services, and I'd also maybe, Alison, just like my name to go forward for that course or that masterclass as well. Anybody else before we move on? Councillor Thornton.
Yes, Chair, I would like to put my name forward for that, please.
Okay. Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
Likewise, Chair, I'd like to express an interest. Thank you.
Thanks. And Paul, Councillor Robinson.
Put my name forward as well.
Okay. Councillor Michael Duff.
Yeah, Chair, I'd be interested in attending that session as well. Thank you.
Okay. And Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair. If I can arrange my work commitments, yes, I'd like to be to put my name forward. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Swift, Bernice.
Yeah, well, just to advise, I'd already contacted directly. I didn't need the council's help to do that, Stephen. So just in case it comes back that I didn't mention it here tonight, okay? And
No
I'm just
problem.
waiting on the Zoom link.
No problem. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I wish to be included in that one as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Okay. Councillor Curry. Didn't see you there, Siobhan.
It's okay. Good. Yeah, just expressing an interest there, Chair. Good.
Okay. Sean, Councillor Sean Donnelly.
Put my name forward too, please.
Yes, Sean.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's them all. Is that right? That's all covered. Okay, 7.4 other correspondence. There's one item there, Alison, if you want to deal with it maybe, or
Yes, actually, Chair, we have a couple. We'd one arrived yesterday. The first is from the Minister of Health, and this relates to the access to GPs and PPE as well, and also recognising the Council's positive sentiments regarding the provision and the services that GPs are given, particularly at this challenging time.
can I get a proposer and seconder, please, for that document? Councillor Robinson.
Opposed.
And Councillor Irving.
Second, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Armstrong. Gone. Councillor Coffey.
Sorry, Chair, it was just second. Thank you.
No bother. Councillor Coffey.
Well, I guess it can't be passed. The situation with GPs, I know we all, every councillor knows this, and I'm sure we all feel concerned about it, but it is quite serious at the moment. And while every GP is doing their best, I know that the under-resourced nature of the situation is really putting a huge strain on people often trying to get through. So I don't recognise a lot of what I'm hearing in this letter. So thank you, Chair.
Okay, and I suppose just to say the health group, which I am a member of, had a very robust meeting with the Health and Social Care Trust recently, our Health and Social Care Board around GP access, so the council's position is well known to them. Councillor McElduff, Barry.
On a related note, during the meeting, the Health and Social Care Group, where we discussed this issue, we also diverged to talk about pharmacies. Can I make a proposal that we write to the Health and Social Care Board and the Minister of Health to establish what is being done to help pharmacies at this time? I think they're doing a fantastic job. They have had to adapt, they're overstretched, they've had to work new ways. It's my understanding that £15 million was set aside earlier this year to provide support to pharmacies deliver their essential services, and they're being brought into play far more than they should be even at this time. So there's a lot of pressure on pharmacies. I would propose that we establish from the Minister of Health, the Health and Social Care Board, what is being done with that £15 million to help pharmacies at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor McAleer.
Yeah, I think that's Councillor McAlduff. Second, that particular one. I think the work that's been done by the pharmacies, it should be acknowledged, and like Councillor McAlduff says, the financial assistance should be investigated and should be redeployed as instructed. So that's a good proposal. Happy to second.
Okay, thanks. And we all agreed. Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for referencing that meeting. It was indeed robust. Just looking at my notes from it, I have a note that Dr. Margaret O'Brien is commissioning additional support to practices for the changing needs that face GPs. So it has been recognised, the changing needs and the pressures that they're under, and that was relayed to us at that meeting.
Okay, thanks, Deanna. So we're all agreed, yeah? And we've one other item.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is a letter from Ards and Rathdown Borough Council, and it's a response to the Council's previous letter regarding our motion in terms, or proposal in terms of the care homes being brought into the ownership and management of the National Health Service, and also the Council's position on an island of Ireland healthcare system free at the point of entry. So that's just that Council's response.
Okay, Councillor Erskine.
Thank you, Chair. I propose to note, I suppose this is what I was getting at earlier in terms of letters and things that we have no jurisdiction over. It's just disappointing that other councils are picking up on it. So propose to note. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Robinson.
Seconded.
Okay, thank you. We're all agreed. Okay, so any other urgent, sorry, we go back to matters arising then. So back to item 4 on your agendas there, and it's to deal with matters arising from the PNR meeting of 14th of October. If members just check their hands there, and we'll go from page 1. Councillor Michael Duff.
I hope to have my hand down there, sorry about that.
Okay, so page 1, page 2, page 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Councillor McAleer.
Sorry, Chair, and apologies if this hasn't been looked at yet, but just in relation to the recommendation on page 6 that we investigate the feasibility of providing staff with a Christmas bonus, I'm wondering if there's any advancing further on that. Thank you.
Being not updated.
No, well, Chair, it was actually dealt with at that meeting in confidential business. So we detailed the financial provision that had been made available in the context of COVID and associated recovery. So from our perspective, that matter is closed.
Okay.
Okay, page 7, page 8, page 9, August page 10. Okay, so.
Chair, sorry, I just did have one item just to advise members on page 7. Apologies, Chair. It's just in relation to an energy event which we are progressing on behalf of the council. We have a number of speakers, including from APSI. It will be held on Thursday, the 10th of December at 2 p.m. and it's really around energy management. We have a number of external invitees as well, and it's given interest in the subject. It's something we would also extend diary invitations to councillors. So that'll be Thursday, the 10th of December at 2 p.m. for approximately 1.5 to 2 hours, and we would welcome attendance from councillors.
Okay, Councillor McAleer.
Sorry, Chair, I was looking on an item on page 8 and 9, so I'm happy to wait until after nominations for that are taken.
Grant, we'll come back. Councillor Baird.
On page 9, 10, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chairman. It's just with regard to Alison and the conference there. That is the same date and time, as far as I know, of the Euro partnership, so it'll rule several people out of that, I would imagine. Just a letter, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, sir. Okay, Alison, can we just maybe move on from then?
Yes, that's fine. It was just for information.
Grant, okay. Councillor McAleer, then you're on page 9.
Yeah, it's the matter just across page 8 and 9. On there was a follow-on from the issue that I'd raised. There was a meeting of the infrastructure committee in Stormont where they were dealing with the PDR, the permitted development rights, and the new amendments to it. I suppose a couple of the issues of concern that I had previously expressed were confirmed by Angus Careth, the chief planner, who had said that these new small wireless access points are potentially very beneficial to the rollout of 5G technology. During the course of that meeting, I noted that he did say that the department were going to be liaising with the council in relation to the amendments, and he did stress particularly in relation to the telecommunications end of it. I'm just wondering if that is in relation to the planning department or the planning committee, and if that is the case, could the information be circulated to all councillors? Just because I think it's something that I know personally I would have a keen interest in, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. The other thing, just in relation to permitted developments rights generally, and it was raised by a number of MLAs that were present, Cathal Boylan, Andrew Moore, the issue of permitted development. Angus Carey actually, and this is a direct quote, he said he was horrified when he saw Woodburn to think that might actually qualify for permitted development. But the
okay, Emma, just keep her on the agenda. There were
just drawing to a close there.
Thanks.
Acknowledging the statements made by the officials in relation to the comparison between mining and drilling for petroleum seem to be completely skewed. The reference that has been much smaller scale, they referenced it as being a short term, and I think it's something we need to look at, something that the number of MLAs mentioned. I think we should be calling for a review of permitted development rights into mineral and precious metal prospecting, and I would make that as a proposal, Chair, that we do follow up with the department in relation to that.
Councillor Baird.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. You may recollect the council meeting in relation to item 8.4. Sorry, can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead, Alex. Yeah.
Oh, there's just some other noise coming in. You may recollect the council meeting in relation to 8.4 had asked it to be referred back to get addition onto what was being recommended in relation to misogyny and transmisogyny, where I explained that the opposite end, the other side of that sex hate crime is misandry and transmisandry. So unfortunately, the proposer and seconder wouldn't facilitate that. But I don't think there's any point in me putting this forward now as a single issue in the context, having done my research. Judge Moran has completed his consultation, and probably the previous proposal will have little effect or no effect in the context that the consultation's closed. So there's no point in me putting anything forward. It's just unfortunate that council couldn't have been seen to be acting in a balanced and equal way on this issue. But I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thanks, Alex. Councillor Coffey.
I'm happy to second Councillor McAleer's proposal, and also I can't let Councillor Baird slip there. The idea that somehow about the council being balanced is to consider as equal the oppression of women and men is just not it's not balanced at all. It's to forget the reality of what society is like, where women are oppressed through a whole range of areas. Misogyny is quite normal in our society, unfortunately. So thank you, Chair.
Okay. That deals with matters arising. Members, just check your hands there, please. Alison, do you want to respond to anything there?
It was just a comment here, but we'd certainly follow up. I thought we had already issued correspondence to seek a formal review of permitted development rights in the matters referenced by Councillor McAleer, but we can certainly check back, and if that hasn't been progressed, we can undertake it.
Okay, perfect. So moving on then, so to any urgent relevant business, I've been notified of 3 items. So I'll just take Alison first there, please.
Thank you, Chair. This is just in relation to proposed arrangements for the reconvening of the Regeneration and Community Committee. As you'll be aware, the December council meeting falls on the 1st of December, so we have to have the meeting next week. And having spoken to the chair of the committee, we're proposing that would be held at 4 o'clock next Thursday, the 19th. That would require us to postpone the elected member development group, but we would be confident that the members of the LAG would be freed up for the 7 p.m. meeting, Chair. So that would be the proposal in relation to reconvening Regeneration and Community.
Okay, can I get a proposer and seconder for that? Maybe Councillor Michael Duff, if you want to.
To be honest, Chair, I wanted to touch base with other councillors as to whether or not it suited them,
yeah.
And I know this is hard work getting a slot, but I've heard rural councillors who have full-time jobs during the day make the point that they can't make 4 p.m. So I just was maybe going to wait on someone saying that.
Okay, Councillor Erskine.
Chair, I suppose I'm coming in a bit quick, but I'm happy if the elected member steering group has to be postponed and things like that there to get obviously those meetings scheduled in. So happy to take any.
Okay, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, bearing in mind what Councillor McAduff had said there, but if we don't get business finished, then we have to try and slot on somewhere else. I think 4 o'clock is fine, and people can try their best to make it. So I'm happy to propose that happens. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, sir. Councillor Seamus Green. Jimmy.
Yes, I'd love at some stage that I'd be able to come in and say I agree with Earl, but as of yet, it has never happened. 4 o'clock meetings just doesn't suit councillors who work and who have other jobs and who have to have other jobs. Keep their family fed. I was elected to represent people. The meetings were scheduled for 7 o'clock. If they don't finish for 7 o'clock, I don't think I, for one, didn't hold up any meeting. And I think any reconvened meeting should be at 7 o'clock to set a precedent of putting them at 4 o'clock. I'll make a suggestion now. See any of them that is left over, why not have it on a Saturday then? I'm more than happy to go on a Saturday, and we'll see if any of the other councillors will agree to that. The ones that Allis proposes 4 o'clock, but I'm proposing that it should be at 7 o'clock. Any reconvened meetings should be at 7 o'clock.
Okay, Councillor Garrity.
Thanks very much, Chair, and I take Seamus's frustration and many members, but it's frustrating we don't get them completed. But just from recollection, and maybe Alison can keep me right, or even yourself, Chair, had we a reconvened Regeneration Community Committee meeting at 3:30 one day? Was it maybe in October? I remember one of them meetings being quite early. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Yes, Chair, we did. And that again was due to the diary commitment. We couldn't get it slotted in at a later stage. So in terms of, we'll obviously hear the discussion, Chair, but yes, we have, it's been on one occasion and it was a reconvened meeting as well.
And Chair, if I may there, I think I remember it was Councillor McElduff urging urgency that we did reconvene and complete business before the month is out, because we as councillors want to do that, I know, and it will affect members of my own group, Ian, but I would be like Councillor McElduff that I would like to get the business complete. And for that reason, I'll second to go ahead with that reconvene at that time. I don't want to be sitting at meetings any longer than necessary, but I do know that we have a duty to get our work done. So, as I say, it compromises some of my members too. But we done it last in that October. So if we start now, people will wonder why. Was there a reason why we didn't do it for this one maybe? But if we can't slot it in at 7, I know the preferred time, you know, when are we going to get it slotted in? It'll be then running on to next month if that's what members want. But I'll second and let's see how the debate goes. Stephen, thank you.
Councillor Feely.
Thanks, Kelly, and Stevie. And this is tricky, and I'm kind of coming in with solidarity with Seamus here now, but it's all right for me. I don't mind the 5 of them and working on their land, farm, and estimate, and work around it, and I come in at 4 o'clock, but I know where Seamus is coming from there, and we have a live meeting that evening after, so I'd have the second councillor being on this one now and not have it on 7 just for the fact that the people who can't work. And I'd be all right, but for other people, you know, so second Seamus there.
Okay, so we've got 2 proposals. I'll take the rest of the speakers, but if you just keep your comments very brief. Councillor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. Well, from a grouping, we are fairly flexible and we will go with whatever time's arranged. We'll take it from there.
Okay. Councillor Green.
Thanks. Just to clarify on the October meeting was during the second lockdown, and it was made clear to me in an email that that was one of the reasons why it could possibly go ahead at 3:30 was because there was another lockdown, and that was the only reason why. I didn't actually dispute at that time, but in hindsight, I definitely should have.
Councillor O'Reilly.
Thanks, Chair. I appreciate that this exercise may be done, but it's again, I think for openness and transparency, I'm wondering why this Friday night, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and certainly Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the following week before the end of the meeting, I'm wondering that there is not one of those nights at 7 that can be used and it would be at 7 o'clock, and I would be interested to find out what all meetings are on all of those nights that we can't fit it in.
Okay. Sorry. Yes, sorry, Chair. I suppose the first thing to say, Chair, in terms of the serving of the notice, the soonest that we can proceed now is 5 days. In terms of the week ahead of us next week, we have Brexit on Monday, we have Growth Deal on Tuesday, we have the Planning Committee on Wednesday. Members will have seen or will be seeing that agenda. We have, I think it's 12 or 14 applications. So I think we will be doing well to do that within the allotted period. We have the LAG on Thursday. There are also scheduled commitments on the Friday, but the issue more importantly on the Friday is that we need to have the actions and minutes agreed by the following Tuesday to allow them to be considered on the agenda for the council meeting. So the issue here is to enable the business to be ratified on the 1st of December, we need the meeting next week. Now, certainly, Chair, we can proceed at 7 o'clock on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday, but it will be clashing directly with meetings that members have commitments on. I would suggest avoiding the Monday, as that's one of your other statutory committees. So there are literally meetings every evening, and we did look at the schedule in full.
And Chair, if I may suggest, is there anything that we can look at now with the realization that this is possibly going to happen again, and that we should be trying to work around this 5 days notice sort of thing, with having an already tabled in monthly reconvene meeting, because we seem to run into this problem on regeneration and community month after month. And would that, Alison, get around the 5 days notice?
No, I suppose the first thing, Chair, I think it's happened one other time. We haven't had to reconvene on many occasions. No, the issue is that you can't, it will always be 5 days after the agenda issues. So the difficulty that we have is regeneration and community is in the second week. The third week of the month is generally a heavy week as well for council. Because for the reasons stated, we've always Brexit, Growth Deal, Planning and LAG. So you're immediately down a week for your consideration. The last week of the month can sometimes work if it is a long month, namely normally January, March, October would lend themselves. But on this occasion, we have no scope because of when the council meeting is, which is the 1st of the month. Now, that's where we are on it, Chair.
Appreciate that, Alison. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Gannon.
Just really brief on Councillor O'Reilly's point there around the 5 days notice. Obviously standing orders, stuff like that, but would it could be possible, because it's a reconvene, there's nothing new on the agenda, could it be possible to maybe look at amending standing orders so that with, say, unanimous agreement of the members, that a meeting can be had in less than that 5 days notice? And I would stress that it would need to be unanimous though for the situation. And maybe Alison can answer that. Thanks, Chair.
Chair, it wouldn't normally be advised for the simple reason that you're required to give the statutory notice, and I think the issue then would be there's very specific grounds in the legislation around the urgency or emerging business. It's certainly something we can review, but I would say the scope for that would be limited enough. I think the issue will still arise in that regeneration and community is the second week of the month, and you already have a full third week. So I think we're not going to make much headway unless we can look at the overall calendar of meetings, which is obviously something we can look at in the wider review. Now, what I would say actually in that regard, members, that if we do move to the delegation of powers to committees, the need to have the minutes ready for the council meeting become less relevant because the committee already has the decision-making power. So I think that would actually help in this regard as well. It'll give you more flexibility on days.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks. Okay, folks. So we'll move to a resolution. We've got two valid proposals on the table in front of us. I'll take them as they were tabled. So Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Garrity.
Clarity, I might have picked up wrong. Was there a date given for the 7 p.m? Sorry, Stephen, for jumping in there.
No.
Was there a date given for that 7 p.m? or did?
No, not yet.
So what's the second proposal there?
I think we'll deal maybe, well, the proposal by Councillor Thompson is that we will go with Thursday at 4 p.m. and Seamus proposed.
It's the second proposal.
And it's a 7 p.m. meeting with the date to be confirmed.
All right, thank you.
Any reconvene meeting, we won't be able to do that this month.
Okay.
Can I just clarify something, Chair, if you don't mind me?
Go ahead, Seamus.
For clarity. See on Monday, the 23rd, what is the problem with it? And just one other thing for clarity. I have mentioned this a couple of months ago, that there should be a date, this exact what Thomas said, set aside for that committee and for the full council. It should be set aside every month in case they overrun. And it wasn't, and obviously that was ignored, and we run into this problem again.
Chair, I think personally matters aren't ignored, but I don't think there seems to be an appreciation of the scheduling of agendas, issuing of minutes. So the issue on the 23rd is we simply will not have the actions done to allow the minute to be ratified on the 1st of December, which negates the point entirely of having the minute, the business concluded. The intent of having a reconvened meeting is allow the committee to come up with recommendations which the council adopts. You simply can't have a meeting and with 24 hours notice produce action notes and minutes. It just doesn't work. It wouldn't work.
6 working days, Alison, over the 1st of December.
But Chair, they have to be circulated in draft for members for call-in purposes and then posted.
Okay.
Surely they don't have to be called in after they be ratified.
No, Chair. Sorry, for the purposes of decisions, they need to be circulated, and then any decisions taken, that is if there's any council powers or associated elements, they would all have to be included. But we can turn it around that quickly.
Okay, members, I'm going to move here. I see there's a number of speakers coming in again. Very briefly, Councillor Thornton and Councillor Thompson. Councillor Thornton first, and then we move to vote.
Yes, sorry, Chair. It's just to be constructive. Is it a possibility in the review of committees that we move the region and community to the first week of the month? So it gives more options for what we're talking about now, because it seems to be the deadlock committee. It just is to be constructive.
No, good suggestion, and we can note that for the review. Alison?
Yeah, absolutely. And Chair, maybe I think, because in case I am causing confusion, it's just to confirm with members in the context of the legislation under which we're operating, any document which is required by subsection 1 to be open to inspection must be open at least 5 days before the meeting. So hence that's where our constraint is. And yes, we can look at the overall scheduling into the first week of the month.
Okay, Councillor Thompson.
Very quickly before we go to the vote, Chair, it's just I think some of the comments with regard to council meetings on Fridays and Saturdays, it's not very helpful to get a conducive result here. We have to think of our staff, we have to think of our councillors, we have to think of our families eating into our weekends. It's not very constructive in my mind. So let you go to the vote, Chair.
Councillor Maguire, very briefly.
Well, obviously, as the chair of the committee, obviously, what we all desire to do is to complete the business on the one night. And despite our urging at every meeting to encourage members to speed the meetings up, it has failed. I've already been spoken to by the Chief Executive, and I have agreed this date reluctantly. I'm fully aware of the comments of Councillor Green and other working councillors. It's an issue that we need to resolve, but primarily my thought is if members would be more succinct on the night and deal with the issues directly and the issues that's on the agenda, we wouldn't foresee this problem happening again.
Okay. So I'll take the proposals as they were made. So Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Garrity, that it's 4 p.m. on the Thursday. Are we all agreed?
No.
Okay. We're not in agreement. I'll just put this to the vote. Just bear with me a second, members. Okay, I'll run through this as quick as I can. Councillor Armstrong.
Abstain.
Councillor Baird.
Abstain.
Councillor Blake.
For.
Councillor Mark Buchanan.
For.
Councillor Glenn Campbell.
Against.
Councillor Sean Clark.
Against.
Councillor John Coyle.
For.
Councillor Curry.
An aye. Against.
Councillor Deehan.
For.
Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Against.
Councillor Sean Donnelly.
Against.
Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
For.
Councillor Keith Elliott.
For.
Councillor Deborah Erskine.
For.
Councillor Feely.
Against.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
An aye. Against.
Councillor Gannon.
For.
Councillor Garrity.
For, Chair.
Councillor Green.
Against.
Councillor Irvine.
Abstain.
Councillor Keenan.
It's an apology, Chair.
It's apology. Thank you, Alison. Councillor Catherine Kelly.
Against.
Councillor Paddy Kelly.
Against.
Councillor Tommy Maguire.
In favour, obviously I've already committed to it with the Chief Executive.
Councillor, that's 4. Councillor McAleer.
Against.
Councillor Chris McCaffrey.
In Eden, against.
Councillor McCann, against. Councillor McCloughy.
Forgo. Abstain.
Councillor Michael Duff.
Against. And aye.
Councillor McPhillips.
For.
Councillor Coffey.
Against.
Councillor O'Reilly.
Against.
Councillor Rainey.
For.
Councillor Robinson.
For.
Councillor Chris Smith.
Abstain.
Councillor Swift.
For.
Councillor Thompson.
For.
Councillor Thornton.
Abstain.
Councillor Warrington.
Abstain.
And Councillor Wilson.
Apology.
As an apology. Just bear with me, second members, to get this tallied up. Okay, so that proposal is defeated. 15 for, 16 against, and 7 abstentions. So, Alison, just keep me right here. We take Councillor Green's proposal then. So now for, just confirm your proposal, Seamus, there for me, please, if you can. 7 p.m. meeting anyway.
Yeah, I propose that this and any other reconvened council or committee meeting was at 7 p.m. Which has been suggested for months previously and wasn't acted.
Chair, may I just clarify then in relation to the available options for the meeting, the reconvened Regeneration and Community Committee, which day would members wish to aim for, given the clashes that you will have? It's your preference which to forgo. So it'll be from Monday to Thursday of next week.
Okay. Do we want to tighten down that then, Councillor Green?
Can I just clarify again, because I'm still a bit confused, why the 23rd is not an option? Just in so many words, because I'm still a wee bit confused around that.
because we will be unable to meet the statutory requirement to have the documents, namely the minutes, available for inspection at least 5 working days before the next meeting, which is the 1st of December.
But it's on a Tuesday, that's 6 working days. That's what the bit that I'm confused on.
Sorry, Chair, I think I've already highlighted it's completely unfeasible to consider we would have a meeting on a Monday night and that we would then have minutes and actions turned around in 24 hours.
Okay. Can I get a date then, so please, members?
Yeah.
Hey, Stevie.
Councillor O'Reilly.
I'm suggesting that we go with the 18th, Chair. I believe that if we can't get the planning committee done between 2 and 7 o'clock, then we're in serious bother there as well.
Councillor Feely. Anthony, were you looking in there?
Sorry, Stevie, I forgot to unmute there. That's a good enough idea of Councillor O'Reilly's there as well. I could second that. What's happening on Tuesday the 17th? Why can we not have on Tuesday the 17th?
That's the Growth Deal Steering Group meeting, Chair, so that's the 3 councils.
Okay.
What is it, a 7 in the evening? Oh, sorry, Alison.
I think that, yeah.
The issue is they're all evening commitments from here on, Chair, so whichever you forgo.
Okay, so if I just get that date confirmed then, please, again, just for the proposal. So what date are we on there, Councillor Riley?
Wednesday, the
18th.
Wednesday, the 18th.
Just correct me, Alison, there is no meeting at 7 on that evening?
I'm sorry, Chair, on the Wednesday, the 18th? No, Chair, I'm not aware of any other meetings that evening. It's the planning committee, which as I imagine will certainly run on given our meeting last month.
Yes, but we should be finished before 7 o'clock.
Okay, I'll put that to the floor then. So, I'm sure happy enough of that then. So, Councillor Green, Wednesday the 18th, 7 p.m.
Yeah, very happy with that.
And Anthony, you're happy to second that. You're seconding that. Are we all agreed then, so members?
Sorry, Chair, did Councillor Green say that apart from specifically 7 o'clock on the 18th, all future meetings would have to be at 7, or is it just this singular one?
I think all future meetings was part of this proposal.
All reconvened, any reconvened council or committee meeting would be held at 7 p.m.
Good.
Are we all agreed?
Agreed, Chair.
No.
Okay.
No.
Thanks, Alison. Okay, I'll run through it again, members. So, starting off with Councillor Armstrong.
Abstain.
Councillor Baird.
Against.
Councillor Blake.
For.
Councillor Buchanan.
Against.
Councillor Campbell.
For.
Councillor Clark.
For.
Councillor Coyle.
For.
Councillor Croy.
For.
Councillor Deehan.
For.
Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
For.
Councillor Sean Donnelly.
For.
Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
I'll go and go to the other room now.
Sean, just mute your mic there, Sean. Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
For.
Councillor Keith Elliott.
Against.
Councillor Deborah Erskine.
Against.
Councillor Feely.
For.
Councillor Fitzgerald.
Valver, 4.
Councillor Gannon.
For.
Councillor Garrity.
For, Chair.
Councillor Green.
For.
Councillor Irvine.
Against.
And Councillor Keenan's an apology. Councillor Catherine Kelly.
For.
Councillor Podrigan Kelly.
For.
Councillor Tommy Maguire.
Lahey, for.
Councillor Emmett McAleer.
For.
Councillor Chris McCaffrey.
Lahey, for.
Councillor Steve McCann's 4. Councillor John McCloughy.
For go, abstain.
Councillor Michael Duff.
4.
Councillor McPhillips.
For.
Councillor Coffey.
4.
Councillor O'Reilly.
For.
Councillor Rainey.
Against.
Councillor Paul Robinson.
Against.
Councillor Smith. Abstain, Chris, was it?
Yep, that's
Councillor Swift.
For.
Councillor Thompson.
Against.
Councillor Thornton.
Abstain.
Councillor Warrington.
Abstain.
And Councillor Wilson.
That is an apology.
That's an apology, sorry. Just bear with us a second, members. Okay, members, so that has been carried. 25 for, 8 against, and 5 abstentions. Moving on then, so second piece of AOB is from Councillor Michael Duff.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I did write to you about this, and thank you for agreeing to take this item. I want to return to a subject that I mooted some months ago, but now there's even greater reason, greater call, dare I say it. It's the musical heritage trail in Omagh. There needs to, I think we've agreed this in principle, you know, but I would like to see this taken forward. So I'm proposing that the council shall now move decisively to develop a musical heritage trail in Omagh, which would incorporate a walking tour, display boards, as well as an interactive audio-visual exhibition experience for visitors to Omagh. Could be the Strutt Arts Centre, of course. This trail and exhibition would showcase and celebrate Omagh's unique musical heritage, character and legacy. Now, the week that's in it, Brian Call has passed, and everybody has had their say about how great Brian Call was as a singer and a person. And I absolutely agree with that. I had the privilege of knowing him personally, of having many conversations with him. Great storyteller, great fun. But, you know, my mother and her generation, my late mother and her generation, they danced to Brian Call and listened to his records. So it's very important that we mark this moment, you know, and I think that whatever the council protocol allows, and we want to treat everybody equally, I would be wanting the council to express our sympathy and our condolences to the family of Brian Call, who has been called Ireland's international country singing legend. And, you know, everybody talks about the recent passing of Artie McGlynn, and P.O. McCann and Brian Call, and there are very many others who have passed, and others who are alive. You know, I won't name them, but they're fantastic ambassadors, musical entertainment ambassadors for our area. I won't try and steal Philomena Begley at this point, she's Pomeroy, but, you know, there's very many others, and there's emerging artists. This will give great encouragement to emerging artists. So listening to Hugo Duncan and the late Jerry Anderson talk about what Omagh offers by way of this heritage and legacy, it just moves me to formally propose that we move decisively on this musical heritage trail. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and Councillor Fitzgerald, you're on this point, Omri.
Yes, I am. Thanks a lot. Yeah, Barry has mentioned this quite a few times, and I think it was the recent passing of quite a few of our musical members from Omagh. You know, these men were huge in their days with show bands and going around places like the Gap Ballroom and everything. They played a large part of our cultural musical heritage, and there's a lot more men and women behind scenes, you know what I mean, who has played a part in our musical trail and are very much looked upon. And you know, with even Frank Chisholm, you know, the Elvis, and as Barry had alluded to P.O. McCann and Artie McGlynn, Brian Call, who just had passed away there yesterday, and with Pat Chesters, who's a great musical player as well as many others. And I'd like to second Barry's proposal. I think it's a great way forward. And it's a thing to get on our map again. People all know about Omagh, and I think it's a great musical start. It's a great inspiration for all our young people and for the secondary schools and primary schools around. So yeah, happy to second that.
Okay, thanks, Anne-Marie. Councillor Swift, are you on this point as well?
Yes, and fully supportive of it. I think it's a great idea, and I didn't realise that there was such musical talent in Omagh until very recently. And I went online to Brian Call's funeral mass as concelebrated by Father Brian Darcy, and we heard the whole history of how fabulous he was. And indeed, it was said that if he had stayed on in America, he would have been as great as Charlie Pride and Slim Whitman, but he loved his hometown so much he had to come home. So hats off to him, and may he rest in peace. And you have other greats like the Melody Aces and the Plattermen. I think that idea, Barry's idea of the storyboard and that, I'd like to see it where you could push button and it actually plays some of the songs and the tunes of these people. And we could be seen dancing on the street in Omagh or wherever these lovely storyboards are going to go up in memory of these people. So I'm very embracing of it. I think it's fantastic. And wait till we get the Fermanagh music board up and running. Well done anyway, Barry. Fully supportive.
Thank you, Bernice.
Yeah.
Councillor Thompson, on this point there, yeah?
Yeah, it is indeed, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And I do support Councillor McAduff's proposal, seconded by Councillor Fitzgerald. Brian Call was well known by everyone who lived in the town of Omagh, especially, and people from around it, like Councillor McAduff and Councillor Fitzgerald, will have known him too. Others there, Omagh's really historic when it comes to singers and musicians. They're renowned. It's a bit like the city of Londonderry. There are people there that are renowned, and families and generations going back as well. Somebody mentioned there also Frank Chisholm, who's also very much still alive, but a man that really made his mark in playing Elvis, and for 40 odd years. So I think I'm very, very supportive of what has been proposed there. It was done right. Thank you.
Thanks, Earl. And Councillor Feely, are you on this point?
Yeah, thanks, Davey, for that as well. Like Councillor Swift, I didn't realise there was so many Western singers from Omagh. I didn't know that at all. And it's a great idea for Barry. Like it's near the same as what I was saying last night about that up in Glenfront, the Bournemouth Commands. There's the same kind of an idea up there where you go in and you can see all the posters of all the bands and all that kind of stuff. So it was a great idea. Not into country music at all myself. I'd be getting more into 70s and 80s rock music, but still, I think it's a great idea, and fair play to the people who have got that going, and it'd be great for them. It's a great idea about it.
Councillor McAleer, are you on this point?
Yes, Chair, yeah, just to support it, and Barry will know as well, there's plenty of people out in Mid-Tyrone that could be considered, not least Eamon McCann. You have the likes of Liam Kelly, who won the Glór Cheer competition on TG Gahar a few years back. You have the likes of Ed Fox and plenty of other people who would be to get on a board there as well. So, really supportive of it. I think the interactive element of it that's been described as something that's a bit of a novelty and could become a bit of a tourist attraction. All right, so happy to support it, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmett. Councillor Warrington, on this point.
Thank you very much. Just wanted to mention one thing, the miss there, and I'd be on the same sort of line as Councillor Feely. I would be more of an 80s child, and I remember very much Rock Stewart, and he was certainly very much an Omagh man. I remember some great nights listening to Rock Stewart. He played a school formal for us, and I've seen him many a night in his weird and wonderful get-ups in the Valley Hotel. So just wanted to get that in there. Thank you.
All right, Victor. Councillor Deehan.
Thank you, Chair, and I want to be supportive of Councillor McElduff's proposal. I think it's a wonderful idea. It's very fitting that we should celebrate our musical heritage and show our appreciation for the wide range of talent that we have in our district, and it's right that we should celebrate it. And I also want to be associated with expressions of condolences to the Call family on the sad passing of Brian. Not only was he a wonderful singer and a great ambassador for Omagh and for Ireland, but also he was a very kind-hearted gentleman who had a great interest in people and who was very, very loyal to his hometown of Omagh. So he will be greatly missed by the people of Omagh and by his wider fan base. So I just wanted to express my condolences to his family. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Josephine. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, very quickly, Chair. I suppose I think there's extra benefits. I haven't until he died listened to any of his music. I suppose I probably wouldn't be alone in people of my age bracket. I think it might be an opportunity for people who are maybe slightly younger than some of the other councillors to experience that heritage. So that's why I think it's a great idea and happy to support it. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Baird.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And while recognising Omagh and West Tyrone's great musical heritage, I don't think Fermanagh's musical heritage can be wiped out either. You know, going back to the show band days, you had the Skyrockets and the like of Cecil Kettles down there and the McGandy brothers, then the famous Gene and the Gents and the late Hilary McCullough involved with them. Also in the harder rock end, you had Mama's Boys, the McManus guys from Derrylin. And then coming up to more modern times, our adopted son, Nathan Gardner, adopted daughter, Lisa McHugh, and of course their manager, John Farry, with his musical prowess. So maybe it would be practical to look at it as a council-wide project. It would complement the totality of the area. And dare I say, is it something that the Arts Committee should try to take forward, falls into that? But I think there's great potential in the totality of the area, looking at its musical heritage. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. Councillor McCloughy.
Sorry, if Councillor Baird's going to list off some of the musical talents, the Divine Comedy would be remiss to not include them. Three guys who went to my alma mater.
Okay, that's grand. And I'll just invite Alison to comment there at the end, please.
Thank you, Chair. I was maybe just going to ask if Councillor McElduff would be content that we would, in the first instance, investigate the feasibility so we could bring the costings through to you. We have no budget for this at the moment, Chair, so we would be looking at a decommittal from existing budgets, so that would probably be a capital line that we would need. So just to reflect that in, if Councillor McElduff is content.
Okay, Chair. I want to progress this because it absolutely reflects the character of Omagh as a place. And I just want to say a couple of additional points that I think Councillor Erskine and Councillor Feely could have that dance that they talked about last night at the interactive board. But I also take the point of the uniqueness of Creggan, two young men competing in the National Blower Cheer finals, as has been mentioned by Councillor McAleer, and Dominic Kirwan and Frankie McBride. Did Frankie McBride get to #1 with 5 little fingers? And Dominic Kirwan has a massive support base in Scotland. So we do need to progress this. I'm expressing a wee bit of determination to see this happen sooner rather than later. And obviously it won't come easy to make it happen, but we need to make it happen. That's my proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Members, we're going to move on very quickly here. We've got a proposal and seconder there. Are we all agreed?
Very quickly, Chair.
Yeah, please, there.
Councillor McAnuff had mentioned Dominic Kirwan. It's the Kirwan family and all their the wider family circle there as well have all been well-renowned singers and musicians. Thank you, Chair.
Please, the Moores and the Pritchards.
Okay. Councillor Deehan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Chair, I wonder if the Council Chair, Councillor Smith, would be so kind as to write a letter to the Call family, just reflecting the esteem and the affection that Brian Call is held in locally and our expression of condolences.
Yeah, I think that's been proposed, Councillor Deehan, via Councillor McAduff's initial proposal. Is that right, Alison? I believe that's been proposed.
Thank you.
By Councillor McAduff. Okay, Councillor Garrity.
Chair, and I'm happy with everything you said before, but I'd implore the record, pardon the pun.
Councillor Baird, briefly, and then we're moving on. Councillor Baird, are you looking in?
Sorry, I was muted. Can Alison include my suggestion of looking at including Enniskillen and Fermanagh, either parallel or inclusive of that, just looking at the practicalities in principle? Thank you.
I'll just consult with the proposer. Barry, you content enough with that?
Well, I do think Oma's uniqueness has to be recognised. I'm not against a recognition in Fermanagh or Enniskillen of its musical heritage, but I have to say sometimes a town stands out in a particular way, and I have to say Errol might have said it a different way, but it's a bit like Derry to me. Oma has a unique musical heritage, and I want that recognised, and we want that recognised. I mean, I won't be opposing other proposals relating to Enniskillen or Fermanagh, which reveals its distinct identity. For example, Geopark development. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Baird, maybe you want to make your own individual proposal?
You're hearing me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
No, yes, I would propose that is looked, if it's done in parallel, it's purely at the exploratory stage at Alison, looking at the costing and the practicalities. But I certainly would make a proposal of a musical heritage trail for Enniskillen and Fermanagh, Oblique Fermanagh.
Councillor Gannon?
Happy to second that, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Thornton, your hands just came down, so we're all agreed with that, yeah? Okay, thanks, members. And finally, Councillor Curry, one last item. And be brief, Councillor Curry, if you can, please.
Yes, and thank you very much for letting me in on this. I would have contacted officers, but I only became aware of it just immediately before the meeting, so thank you. It's a request that I received from a community association today around marking the start of the UN 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And I do understand, if I recall correctly, we have marked it in the past. They're just wondering, is it too late to put in a request? Because the launch day is actually November the 25th. That's 2 weeks today. So, and just the theme this year is ending gender-based violence against women in the workplace, focusing in particular on informal women workers, and as members may be aware, then their colour theme is orange. So it's just so that maybe if we need to make a decision on it tonight, and I will contact the community association and ask them to put that request in formally, if that would be acceptable, Chair.
Okay, Councillor McAleer. Sorry, Alison, are you looking in there?
I was just going to say, Chair, that would be straightforward, as Councillor Curry has indicated the details there. It would be consistent with the overall policy position, and then if members are minded, we would just report that as the schedule of illuminations for the next reporting period.
Councillor McAleer.
Yeah, I'll be very brief, Chair. I'm happy enough to second that proposal. Thank you.
Perfect. And Councillor Fitzgerald.
Sorry, Stephen, it's very difficult to see if my hands up or down, and I've been further here for a minute, so.
Perfect. That's grand. Thank you. And we all agreed with that proposal, yeah? Okay, thank you. Can I take a proposer and seconder members to go into committee, please? Okay, I've got Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly and seconded by Councillor Thompson. And just wait to get the recording going again, and we're. Okay, we're good to go. So we'll just invite the Chief Executive to summarise what happened on confidential matters.
Thank you, Chair. And while in committee, members considered the report on confidential staff matters and noted the report and the various details provided therein.
Can I take a proposer and seconder to note that update?
Chair, Councillor Deehan.
Okay. And we've got a seconder.
Councillor Thompson.
Councillor Thompson, and we're all agreed. Okay, members, that takes us to the end of the meeting. Thanks for your participation, and bring the meeting to a close. So good night to you all. See you all soon.